Hello again, this is a video on my Arts Ed recall. If you haven't watched the first round video, you might want to do that. So I'm just going to talk you through what happened in my recall. So the recall was the same day as the first round. Everybody who didn't get a recall left and we stayed. There was 10 of us and we stayed for the rest of the day. My day finished at about 5:30, but it depends on what order they put your different workshop type things in. I said in my previous video, they're very calm, like quite, I don't know how to explain it. But as soon as we got through, like, they were so nice. Like, they were like, oh, well done, guys. Like, it was great. So yeah, they gave us a couple of minutes to take in the news because we were all very shocked. And they gave you a little break. So you need to eat then if you need to eat because you probably won't get another chance. Yeah, and just make sure that you do so you don't, you know, waste away. So what they do is they give you this sheet with a time schedule on it. So everything works on a carousel system. So you have different things that you have to go to in different rooms, and then they give you a different time for each one of them, just so this is like your plan for the rest of the day, so you know what's going on. So the first one is an acting workshop and you do it all together, and it's with 2 guys, and it was just really nice things like helping you get more relaxed, helping you get like in the zone, like ready for the rest of the day. Just, you know, normal drama games like what do you know, 3 things about this person, blah blah blah. And then we did an exercise with our monologue, and they just helped us to visualize the setting around our monologue and who we're actually talking to, and maybe go into deeper detail about the person we're talking to and where we are and why we're there and things like that that you should have already thought about. But they did make us go into more detail, and I definitely say if you can then apply that when you perform the monologue to them, do that. So just, yeah, relax, be confident in the workshop. They are marking you and looking at you still, but be you, go with your gut. They already like you, you know that, so just, you know, carry on with what you've been doing really. My second one was a physical check in the gym. You had to fill out a form about like any past injuries you've had, things like that. You go and there was a physio and he just checked everything out basically, just did some plies and stuff, like a bar, and I've had a problem with my knee before, so he just checked, you know, my balance was all good. He said, yeah, that's fine, that's great. It doesn't go against you in any way if you have had any injuries. They just want to know about it so you're not going to get further injured really. Yeah, that was that. He was lovely. And then my next one was an interview, which was just a really nice chat. Honestly, the woman was so lovely. So there was 2 of them doing the interview. It was the head and the deputy head, I think, and it was just a chat with them really about all the things that you've done and all the things that you've been doing. The questions she asked me were, what have you been doing in the last year? So just expand on all the things I've been doing. Obviously, because I was on a gap year as well, I think she was more interested to find out what I'd been doing with my time. So I just spoke about all the shows I've done and people I've worked with. She said, how have you kept up your training? So obviously, because I'd been in college for 2 years doing musical theatre, and then I took a year out, so it was just what things have you been doing to keep up with it. So just talk about the classes and singing lessons and things. She said actor, singer or dancer, what would you say? She asked me about funding, where do you stand with the funding? Just be straight with that. If you're not going to be able to afford it, there's no point telling them you can, because if you get in, you can't go. It's just a bit pointless. She asked me my dream role, so we had a little chat about that. And then if I had any questions as well, any questions about Arts Ed, so that is your chance to ask all the questions that you want to ask. And that was basically it, but I was actually in there for such a long time just because it was such a nice chat with her. She was lovely, the woman I had for my interview. And like I've said before, I love interviews because I feel like they've not properly had a chance to get to see you. And this is your chance to get to show them who you are and why you do what you do. After that, I had my acting to present my monologues. So I went in and it was the same 2 guys who did the workshop. Now this is important. So for my workshop, I wore like leggings and a nice top like that I could move in. But then for my singing, I wanted to wear my dress. And I didn't have enough time to change between like all these little workshops. So I put my dress on so that I could like look presentable for my interview and for my singing and things. And I thought, well, I can do my monologue in this, it's fine. But I went back in and they were like, you weren't here before, you weren't wearing that before. And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry, I got changed for my singing. So then they were like, well, what were you wearing? What were you wearing? So I had to kind of describe to them what I was wearing. So I'd say maybe that wasn't so great, like, because then they couldn't really remember what I'd done in the workshop, because it does help, you know, to trigger your memory. Like, what you're wearing is silly, but it does. So yeah, if you do that, describe what you were wearing properly, because I was like, oh, this top that was like white with like lace. Nice description, Megan. Try and wear the same thing. For the monologues, they send you a list of Shakespeare's and you have to pick one off that list to prepare, and you also have to prepare a modern monologue that's from a British playwright written after 1990. That was for my year. Don't know if they'll change it for your year, but check that out before you do it, because that's quite a specific thing that they wanted, and my other monologue didn't actually fit into that category. He wasn't a British playwright, mine was Australian. So he was very like, take your time, don't jump into it, take as much time as you need, and think about the exercise that we did in the workshop and see if you can use that within your performance. And I actually did, and I think it did really help, and they can see when you're thinking about that, so try and do that. That was all good. He didn't do any redirection or anything, he just asked to see my pieces. And then my last one was my singing. So I went in and it was the same guys as before, pianist and a marker, and he just said, okay, we're going to do some scales. So they just did regular scales and then sliding scales. Practice your sliding scales. That's something I've been practicing for the whole year, and if you can do it, you can do it, and if you can't, it's quite obvious that you can't. So practice sliding scales. They ask you to prepare a minute of your contemporary song, but he actually just heard the whole of mine. It's not very long, mine's like 2 minutes, but make sure that you've prepared the whole thing in case they want to hear it. He just asked me what it was, and then I think from the song he knew that it wasn't that long, so he said, oh yeah, just do all of it. So I did that song, and then he asked me to sing My Legit again, so this time I performed the whole of My Legit song. That was it for me. He didn't ask me to do anything else. Some of the others there on my day, obviously we were all talking to each other the whole day. One of the guys, he got him to sing his Legit song in a pop style and in an opera style, so that's a pretty interesting one. And then he asked one of the girls as well to do like an acting exercise within her song and imagine that she was in like a completely different situation to what the song was actually, like the context of the song. He said to one of the guys as well, like, oh, sing it like Adele or something, and like, I would love to do that. So like I said, depending on what time you do everything will depend on what time you finish. I was supposed to finish about 5. I was actually there till like 5:30, but it's around 5:30, 6 that you're gonna finish, and you just follow the sheet where you need to be. And then that was it. Once you finished all of the sections, they just let us go. Then they said, okay, we'll let you know within like a week. So you have to wait for a letter. Oh my gosh, it's the worst wait ever. So out of the 10 of us who got a recall, 2 or 3 get in usually. So from the 100 that on the day that they started with, 2 or 3 from that they get in. I think 50 get in overall, and they say that it's usually 55-60% boys and 40-45% girls. Yeah, that's what it is. And they send a letter to your house. Funny story, there's a girl who I met there who I'd actually already met at my National Youth Theatre audition. So I spent most of the day with her. So we added each other on Snapchat, and she sent me a message saying, I've just got my letter, have you got yours yet? And I was like, oh my gosh, no. Because like we didn't know when it was going to come, like what day it was going to come, and I looked out the window and the Royal Mail van was at the top of my road, and oh my gosh, it was the worst thing ever. I was literally sat there like watching the van, like it was horrible. And yeah, the letter eventually came, and you get a snazzy letter with like a shiny thing on the top. They say whether you've got in, whether you haven't got in, or whether you're on the reserve list. So I got put on the reserve list, and they say in the letter, we'll hopefully inform you whether or not we can confirm a place by July/August. And they also said if you get a place anywhere else, please let us know. So I'd obviously got my place at Erdang. So I actually contacted them and said, look, is there any chance you can let me know whereabouts on the reserve list I am, just to help me with my decision on like whether to accept my other offers or not? And they did do that. They said, like, you know, you're 12th on the reserve list, so the chances of 12 people dropping out is not that high. So they advised me, go like take your other offers, which was really good actually, because they could have just left me waiting, and you know, that's not great, is it? But yeah, I was overjoyed to be 12th on the reserve list. Considering I didn't even get a recall the year before, this is what I mean. The entire process is completely crazy and you can never predict what's going to happen. So yes, that was my Arts Ed audition in 2018. Any other questions, ask away. I really loved the day and I came away quite confused because I had never considered it as an option before. So have fun at Arts Ed. If you don't get a recall, don't take it to heart. Go again the next year and maybe you will this time. Just work on your legit singing, because that's the only thing they hear before you get a recall. So that's got to be a strength, I think. And my legit singing's not incredible, but it was enough to get me a recall because I'd worked on it for a whole year. So keep singing high, have a great day at Arts Ed, and I will see you on the next video. Bye. Recall was the same for doing A-levels and stuff. They ask you about that, but they don't want you. Oh, I'm speaking so fast. But yeah.